Keep talking. I can still hear you.
All right. So, what was I saying? So yeah. So there was, as I started getting into like Simple Minds and The Cure and the Smiths.
You like Simple Minds more than I did.
Well, I love Don't You Forget About Me.
Yeah.
Which, again, ironically, was not a song that they wrote, and was not a song that they were. I'm sure they were enthusiastic about it being a major hit, but they quickly came to resent it because it was not their song.
Right.
They were matched up with Diane Warren or whoever the fuck wrote the thing in the first place.
Oh, they hit the things.
Yeah, the cats walked on the. And so the only really hard rock progression that I'd moved on from Queen was to Iron Maiden. And I had all the Bruce Dickinson era, or I don't know if I had them all, but I enjoyed them all. I enjoyed Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave. So I was a huge. So even in junior high school, I know that I had redrawn that same cover of Killers that traumatized me a few years before, and taped it to the front of my Peachy folder. You know, that was my folder in junior high, and I still kind of consorted with the metalheads, and it wasn't until 9th grade that. So I imagine that Live After Death came out around that time because I bought it. I don't know that I ever once listened to it. I mean, I just dropped them like. It was both self-conscious backlash, and honestly, just okay, this isn't speaking to me anymore. And
I remember you had all the Iron Maiden too. On vinyl, I think I had Peace of Mind.
I know
on
I
tape,
had Power Slave on vinyl because I could picture the big beautiful.
I remember
cover.
you had Number of the Beast too. Because I remember going one time and looking at the inner sleeve and going, oh wow, I didn't know this was on the inner sleeve. And so, yeah, when I say during my dark period, Maiden was one of the bands that I just wasn't listening to new music. I was just listening to whatever I had, which was most of the CD collection I have now. And then it's funny because I see people's collections on YouTube, and mine's a peanut compared to what they got on there. But like people would come in and go, "Wow, you got a lot of CDs," and I like music, But then later on down the line, it was, "Wow, you got all these CDs? Have you heard of streaming?" It's like it's just not the same.
Yeah, it feels disposable at times.
Well, and
streaming.
For me, it's like. I was telling you, eventually I'm going to do a video on how I digitize my records onto the computer. I debated so long whether to do that because I don't, people don't, I think because of streaming, people don't even bother digitizing their music onto their computer anymore.
Yeah.
And the main reason why I do it is I got 2 kids that use up our data like crazy. And so I want to hear the songs I want to hear that I know I'm going to like because I don't listen to the radio anymore. I don't listen to Sirius radio. I think I got enough music to where, anything I want to listen to and everything I super like is on my phone. And it uses no data. It's just as convenient. And like Kenzie doesn't understand why I don't just plug in every time. It's like, no, because I can keep my phone in my pocket and listen to the new album I just got,
Yeah. Yeah, I do it. I mean, for those
so I
reasons.
get convenience.
Definitely, I like the convenience. The thing that keeps me off of, I have Spotify. But one of the things that keeps me from going to streaming is I like curated.
Right.
I'm very much a curated person, and it seems like if you have all the options in the world, you've got too many options. You're just gonna freeze like a deer in the headlights, and it's like, well, what do I want to listen to? I don't know.
Yeah, I get that too.
And so I like to introduce myself to new stuff by dribs and drabs, and
But it is handy, like when you tell somebody comes and visits and they're looking at my records, and they go, "Oh, what is this band like?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're pretty good. I think they're like this, blah 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 blah." And then while I'm telling them, they're on their phone on, Prime Music or Amazon Music, and boop, okay, yeah, I got that set up. I'm going to listen to that on the way home. So in that sense, it's a little bit easier, kind of spreading around music. Though I've been finding YouTube is a great way to find new music. If I subscribe to a particular label's YouTube channel, I've been finding new music that way. So that's how I found Oceans of the Moon, through listening to OCs. I realized that Castle Face was their record, so I figured that's a way to find out if a record's going to come out. They'll put a single on there first, and then I can look for it. So I got Face Stabber when the vinyl was released. I got it from Amazon on the day it was released. So that's another weird thing, is the last 2 years I have been buying albums on their release date, when they come out, which I have not done
in like ever, really.
No,
Was
I
there
used
a
to
time?
Queen I would get as soon as it came out, because I got Greatest Hits right away. I got Hot Space right away, and I guess I didn't get the Works right away, but Rush's albums I would get right away. But that was another band that, after Signals, there's a couple good songs on. What was the next one? Power Windows. Power Windows I didn't get into, and then no, it was Grace Under Pressure. Grace Under Pressure had about 4 or 5 songs that I liked on there, but the rest.
That's the Dalmatian and the
Signals
Fire
is
Hydrant?
yeah.
Signals is.
Yeah, Signals. I think it's
Because that's the one you had a huge fucking
I
vinyl
had
thing.
every Rush album.
Well, no, you had it hanging up in your room, didn't you? Just a
Mhm.
giant, whatever, nylon,
Yep,
vinyl,
yep.
whatever that was. Thing that was like one of the main centerpieces of decoration in your room.
Right, I think it was right. Was it over my bed or was it over the
Probably
stereo?
so. One of the two.
Rush.
Now so you do have it now on vinyl?
I do have it now on vinyl. I picked it up in Portland last year. Which, yeah. So Signals,
There you go.
Grace Under Pressure is the one that looks like a lady's mannequin from behind, and she's looking into like some watery, spacey stuff. And then it's like cut off on the top, but it flows over the edge of the border. And
is it a very 80s looking cover?
yes, very 80s looking cover. If you want to look it up, you can.
No, that's okay. I can vaguely picture it.
And then Power Windows was the guy. Or I guess I gotta go this way.
Yeah, so Rush was never something I picked up on. But it's funny to me that at that point, those watershed years of like 86, 87, ended up skipping backwards past all the Queen and the hard rock, going back to the ABBA and the Beatles of our youth, kind of, and me discovering XTC, Crowded House. And those two bands became like the nugget. What, I can't think of the.
I
thing
still
at
have
center.
the tape, my tape from back then that I got. So did I get it first? Because I remember going on vacation and having it on tape, and
Which one? The
very first one, Crowded House. I had that on tape for. I still got it. I still have it, but I listened to it for years. But that was kind of the only one I ever got for a long time. And then I got the best of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you got me the vinyl.
Yeah, see, I was in it to win it from Crowded House, so because I don't even necessarily remember that about you, which is why that's one of the times where we were still in the same house.
First came out,
but when we were still in the same house, but we were doing our own things,
right?
Basically,
right.
So
you had your set of friends, I had my set of friends.
Yeah, and that day in day out influence kind of went away.
I thought a cat was crawling out there. I heard something move, and I was like,
"Yeah,
I got a cat."
Record shifted back, but yeah, I was into Crowded House, and so I'd love. Yeah, I see it. And now it's flipped over there. Love the first Crowded House album. Love the second Crowded House album, and so that was a total, top 5 album for me. And I mean, really informed. It took me a little longer to get into XTC, but Skylarking was my first XTC record, and
I bought that originally on tape too. I bought that one.
Yeah, but that was a gift from my future wife, and so it took a little while to get into it, and I only knew at that point, at the point that I got it, enough about XTC to know that Dear God was the big single, and yet it was not on the cassette.
Right.
That I was given. And so...
That's what I remember about that, too.
That led to rebuying Skylarking for myself on CD. That was my third CD. We were talking earlier, two Erasure CDs were my first 2 CDs. But Skylarking was the third one that I had before I had the means to play CDs. And I rebought it because I liked Dear God. I was watching 120 Minutes at the time. And in the years after that, after I bought Oranges and Lemons, their next album, then I started having a little money, and kind of went backwards into their catalog and came to realize that I knew a lot of XTC songs from watching Top of the Pops, when I didn't really know who did what song if they weren't.
Yeah, I knew XTC did. We're only making plans for Nigel.
Yeah,
that's the only one I remember from England, though.
But I think if you like Generals and Majors, would be a song that if they had a bunch of them that hit me, and I was like, oh shit, I know this song. Oh wow, I know this song too, and so fairly quickly, by the time None Such came out in like 91, 92, I pretty much had their whole back catalog. And so Crowded House and XTC were really sort of central bands for me, but I felt like they were my own influence. They were fine. So I mean, my wife bought me the Skylarking, but it was a year. It didn't make a good first impression on me, and it taught me the joy later of, you know what, some songs you got to listen to a few times to understand how they're going to play out, to really, because you know enough that you're expecting X to happen, and when it doesn't and Y happens instead, it just sounds wrong to your ear at first. But when you understand that Y is coming, and you're like, well, this is a fuck lot better than had it gone to X,
Right.
These grooves are actually a lot better and more memorable, and they cut deeper, and I like them a lot better.
Skylarking was one like that for me too. I had to listen to it a few times. Talk was another about that time period when I was listening to Crowded House, XTC, and Talk, and those were kind of which you got more into those bands later on down the line after I was listening to them in high school.
But it's somehow you stayed in a. It wasn't hard rock because it's not like you were buying Striper records and shit. But
no, I didn't get into. I never bought any Motley Crue.
You never bought a Motley Crue.
Never bought a Def Leppard. I never bought.
But the more hardcore stuff, you like Bad Religion, Bad Brains.
Not then quite yet. That wasn't until like 91, 92 that I started really getting into Bad Religion. I met a guy. I worked at 7-Eleven. I knew a couple of punk songs, like some stuff from The Damned. With Video Nasty or Nasty, which I finally got the single for that. But there wasn't a lot. I did like Guns N' Roses
Yeah, Guns N' Roses was alright.
Was alright, but
they were enough out of me that I never bought the Guns N' Roses.
I didn't buy Guns N' Roses because you heard it all the time, and it
Yeah.
was an MTV staple, you know.
And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, and I bought. That's one of the few albums that I only ever bought on via download. And it was one of those albums. Every so often, you get an email from iTunes saying $5.99 albums, and that was one of them. And I thought, I'll get it.
What the hell? Yeah.
So
I still don't have Appetite for Destruction, but I do have the Spaghetti Incident that I picked up at Portland. Actually, my buddy gave this to me, and I
there's a
think
spine
it's
that
Word.
fucking looks like spaghetti. Oh, that's not spaghetti.
no,
It's
I'm
not.
trying to think. I'm in J here, and I see
Oh.
F, so I'm trying to figure out where.
I see.
There's Ghost,
Heart.
Green Day. There it is. I see it. See, even with it all, that's what I still got to get used to with the albums. That you got to really, as I'm getting older, my eyes aren't as good, so it's real tough to see. But dude, this is all Since I Don't Have You, New Rose, Down on the Farm, Human Being. That's MC5's. Raw Power. That's the Stooges. Ain't It Fun? I can't remember who did that one now. Hair of the Dog. I Don't Care About You from Fear. And dude, I got this, and I want to also get, and it's really hard to find. It's just as hard, I think, to find as this one.
Lies or
Lies.
GNR Lies.
GNR Lies. That would be. And then that actually comes on orange vinyl too. You know what? I'm gonna do my little thing. I'm giving up the secret here. How I remember where my albums were. I heard him say, just pull out the album next to it. But it's like, nah. I'll put a little board in there. It's even easier to find. So it's my understanding that there's only one pressing of this on vinyl. And it's on this transparent orange vinyl. And it plays tits, man. It's so good. And I dig it. I like their versions of those songs. But then I'm kind of known for liking shit that a lot of people, they'll like a band and they'll say like, oh, I hate that fucking song, you know? Talk to any Beatles fan. And what's the number one song you think that they say they hate the most?
Maxwell Silverhammer, Obla-Di Obla-Da.
They don't like those, but one do they fucking hate? You probably don't know it because I don't know if you've ever heard it. Do you have the White Album?
I do have the White Album.
What do you think of Revolution number 9?
Oh, I don't know why I didn't think of that because I hate Revolution.
I love that song, but there's a reason why I love it. And I got 2 words for you. LSD. It's, dude, I just tripping out in the fucking college dorm room. That's when I started liking the Beatles, was when I went to college and people would play this stuff. And I was just starting to smoke weed and, you know, I didn't do LSD all the time, but we did it, you know, maybe 3 times while I was there that first year. And, that song fucking spoke to me when I was, and I still hear that song and I can remember every part of it. That's the weird thing is it seems it has no rhythm, no, you know, nothing. It's all over the place.
No hooks.
No hooks.
No
nothing.
melodies.
But I could
Nothing that is good about
I can
music.
do all of those loops as they happen, you know?
Yeah.
I when it goes, ooh-cha, I can do the ooh-cha at the right part. Block that kick. Block that kick, you know?
That's funny.
And like, you know, like I hear on Genesis, most people can't stand that self-titled Genesis album. Dude, I think that's their best one. The whole thing is fucking solid. I like every song on that thing.
And Genesis, I kept following through to, I guess the last Phil Collins one, I bought and hated.
Oh,
The one with We Can't Dance, or maybe it's just called We Can't Dance.
I think that's it. That's what it's called. I started slipping on, and I think you had it on album, Invisible Touch.
Yeah, I didn't like the album title. I didn't like the art, but I liked a lot of the songs on
I like
Invisible Touch.
Land of Confusion, which was when we played that. They had that video thing on there, and I said, "World of Confusion."
Yeah. I like Land of Confusion. I like the Brazilian.
But I don't like that song "Invisible Touch." I don't like the song. I still don't like it today.
Yeah.
It just does not ring my bell at all. But other than that, there's a lot of it's weird. A lot of the Peter Gabriel stuff with Genesis, I don't care for.
Yeah, I don't necessarily either.
But I love Peter Gabriel on his own.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing, though, that I made up my mind about that when I was 12. And I've never really had a ton of cause to go back and reevaluate. Do I like Peter Gabriel Genesis? Because I still, up to this day, I've never cared for the proggiest prog rock. I don't like fairy tale rock.
I can't get in. Yes, I'm
not a fan of Queen 2, or the first 2 Queen albums have some decent stuff on them, but
see, those are my favorites. Actually, the first three are my favorites.
The Fairy Fellers Master Stroke, I think, oh my God, I don't even want to listen to that song.
I love that stuff, dude. Those are like little mini operas.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't like opera, but it's just so thematic. Is that the right word? It just feels like they're telling these grand stories. It almost feels like you're listening to a J.R.R. Tolkien song,
Yes, which I can understand, and I don't want to listen to J.R.R. Tolkien songs. So I was never a Led Zeppelin guy. So I say hard rock, really I'm talking about Queen. And then Iron Maiden. But those were the 2 main bands that I was listening to through the early 80s. Queen, Genesis, and Iron Maiden. Up until I had the big reevaluation after coming back to the States in 1984, after Queen's The Works came out. And
well, dude, I don't know. I think I might have told you the story once before, and you said you didn't remember. But I was totally into Queen, and you liked Queen too, which was good because when we were in the car, we could both listen to the music. And I think at that time we didn't have a tape player yet. It was before we got the green Volvo, the 1980 Volvo, but we still had the 70 Volvo.
Yeah.
So we would sit in that back seat when you didn't have to wear seatbelts, or we'd sit in the station wagon part and play a tape. You remember we had the, I think it was a Philips tape. It didn't even have buttons on it. It had like a thing that when you wanted to record, you pushed it up. If you wanted to fast forward, you pushed it that way. It was mono. We used to listen to a lot of our tapes on that, like when we swoosh our Legos when we were kids, and have
record our farts and things.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say when we'd have Flash Gordon, but some people might argue that's the same thing. but God, that brought back a memory. And then we would still tell jokes in the microphone.
Driving along.
Breath.
Remember that? We recorded Driving Along, didn't we? Our song.
That's that little song we wrote, Driving Along.
Without a seatbelt, bringing it back to the...
Wasn't your standard love story. It was boom, 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 boom. Drive along.
Drive along without a seatbelt.
I only tried to do a band with one other guy. That was that Psychedelic Mushroom. Was what we were going to call it. I might still have that tape. It's a picture of you.
Oh.
But it's blurred.
Is it like a Xerox?
Yeah, and then we Xeroxed it, and that looked perfect. And then when black metal came out, I'm like, fuck, they stole our look, man. Psychedelic Mushroom did that first. We were banned for like 2 days.
All right.
But we're culturally significant.
So again, I feel like we were edging towards a point, and then we went off the rails about Queen.
You were talking about Queen, and then I said
about those early
yeah, I love those
albums, and how I'm still not necessarily a huge fan of those. I love Keep Yourself Alive, but
oh, Stone Cold Crazy.
no, I'm first two albums I'm talking. Sheer Heart Attack.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Is We're All Good.
I love
We're All
the first
Good
two.
on Sheer Heart
Was
Attack.
it Fairy? Well, I like the. Is it the Battle of the White Queen? Now I can't think of it. I got it up here. And I always call this the wrong thing. But I've got the. And I think you got this for me too. Oh, look.
Look
I
at that.
found that.
Hey, it's Duke. I don't want you to see.
Fuck it. I
have
think
no
that's your
idea.
letter to me for the last time you sent me a.
Oh, the disc.
But I got.
Which ironically fell directly into the trash can. Whoops. Okay, yep.
So, on Queen 1, what are the songs that I like? So I always want to call this the Family Jewels, but it's the Crown Jewels. And, fuck, that's the thing, is they keep everything proportional, so the writing is really teeny. So I'm going to have to look like a real old person here for a second. Doing all right. You don't like Doing All Right?
Doing alright's alright.
Great King Rat? My Fairy King?
I like the songs from Queen before better than the songs from Queen 2. But I like just about everything else from
Liar?
Sheer Heart Attack. I would rather listen to The Works than listen to Queen 1 or Queen 2.
Wow. I'm the total opposite. Yeah, I'm totally opposite on that. I would listen
So
to
you were
these-
starting to tell the story, I guess, then about that, because I think I know where you were going with the story, was that you were into the Queen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what it was. That was the story I was going to tell. Was that we were both into Queen. I was getting all Queen. I think you were buying some other band as well.
I may have
But
bought-
then we went this one time, and it was for my birthday. Mom said I could have some money and we went to Peterborough, and we bought some records. And one of the ones that I bought a couple of Queen records, like I think Jazz and
Maybe The Game
no, I had The Game
already.
already. That was my first album I ever bought, was The Game.
Okay.
It might have been
Night
like
at the Opera.
Day of the Races or Night at the Opera. So I had those two, and then you went and grabbed Queen, the first album, which after digressing, this is going to be interesting, is that we're sitting in the car, and I was fucking pissed that you bought that, because it's like, I want to get that too. Why do I, and it's the same thing, why do I want to get it if he's got it? Because I'll just borrow it from him and record it from him. So it's like, you know, oh, you bought that, you know, and then I was just like, yeah, you would buy a Queen album, wouldn't you? That's okay, I don't like that album anyways. And then you're like, happy birthday. Dude, I never in my life have felt so shitty as that time when you handed me that record. And it was like, I actually do really like this record. I felt so shitty after that. You were so nice, and I was being such a fucking dick. And I had 2 records. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You only bought the one and gave it to me. Oh my god. I did. I totally felt like shit after that. And then, and actually, after that, dude, I much appreciate much more any gifts that I get from anybody, whether it be records or, you know, anything else, unless they buy me like a mop or a vacuum cleaner. And then,
All right. Well, yeah, you close to. I'm ready to take a break on this.
take a little break. All right, dude.
Rest my tailbone.
Let me see.
We'll take a
Let me
look
see
and
what it's saying on the time here. We are at 1 hour and 15.
Yeah, this is what it's like at phone calls.
I know. Dude, I think we've done some couple 3-hour phone calls.
Yeah.
So let me pause it here.
All right.